What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Breakdown Sportscast. I am your host, Kory Willis. Hope you guys are doing well on a Friday, getting ready for another great weekend in college football, week 11 now. So, hope you guys are having a great day, great Veterans Day. And, we're here to get you set for another great weekend in college football. So I hope you guys out there are doing that as well. As always, we appreciate you guys listening in on the show. We're on many different streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, and many other streaming platforms. So we very much appreciate you guys listening in on the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It lets us know what we're doing and how we can improve for the future, of course. So any feedback helps. So we very much appreciate you guys' support. As always, I am here with my good friend and co-host. You know who he is? He is Chris Bolton. What's going on, Chris?
What's good, Kory? How we feeling?
Oh man, we are feeling good here on a Friday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's the eve. It's the calm before the storm.
Absolutely.
You know, I think we're in for some foolishness, some craziness, some wackiness this weekend. You know, there was a little bit of some rumblings, a little small, low scale earthquake this past weekend. With some of the outcomes in these games, but
yeah,
look, it's another week deeper into November. It's a little cooler outside. Like we said, man, if football gets crazy in November, so hey. I think this could be another wild weekend.
Hey, look, as always, as we get closer and closer to the actual playoffs and bowl season and everything, Chris, you know, it's always a ton of calamity as always, you know, teams dropping off like flies, you know, all of that great stuff. And, you know, we live for that. We love that. You know, this is why we watch college football each and every week. So,
yes, sir.
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving. I know I've said that before, but it's true. It's true, folks.
It is true. It is true, and it only gets better and better as the season continues.
I agree. I definitely agree. Another great week coming up, folks. We got a lot of games to talk about. This will be a shorter show than usual, but me and Chris will make sure to give you guys our thoughts on the week that is week 11. So, first game that I think we just need to go ahead and knock out right now, Chris. We got Michigan taking on Penn State. They have to travel to Penn State this weekend. Right now, the betting line is Michigan 4.5, and over under is at 44.5. So this is going to be a interesting game. Of course, I want to see what JJ McCarthy does, and I want to see if Drew Aller, who I still think is a pretty good quarterback in his own right, and I think this Penn State team is still pretty good too, even after the loss to Ohio State. I want to see how both of these teams clash. Of course, with all of the news surrounding Michigan right now, that's one of my main concerns is, and I'm not sure what do you think about it, Chris, but for me, I know that's one of my main concerns about what this Michigan team is going to do. in this game where they have to take on a really good opponent. Try to stay undefeated right now because they are in the college football playoff discussion, while also having to deal with, of course, the elephant in the room is the whole cheating scandal. What do you call it? Cheating gate? Sideline gate?
Cheat gates. I mean, is it Scout Gate?
We'll go with Scout Gate. On this show, we'll go with Scout and Gate. I'm pretty sure somebody else will mention something else.
We'll call it Scout Gate for now, but man, I think Michigan should be locked in. I think this could, knowing Coach Harbaugh, I feel like this team is going to rally together. I think they'll take on that temperament of us against the world. And so I'm curious to see how they perform, but I'm not anticipating Michigan to be too shook up or rattled on Saturday when they take on Penn State. I feel like the Wolverines have a really good squad, of course, as they are in the playoff hunt. They can run the football very well, which makes for an interesting matchup because we know Penn State's defense, they have one of the best run defenses in the nation. Number one, to be exact. So the rubber meets the road right here. Something's got to give. Can Michigan, will they be able to play Michigan football and be dominant in their running game? And if not, will they be able to go the Kansas State approach and say, well, we can't run it against these boys. I guess we're going to have to throw the football and see what we can make shape. And I think McCarthy is a good enough quarterback to make plays. I trust him more than Allard in this ball game when you look at the two QBs. But there's also the other side of the coin with Penn State where you saw their offense, they opened things up a little more when taking on Maryland. They were able to get it downfield in the passing game. Will that carry over and translate this week? That's been a big question this entire season is Penn State's ability to, throw the football. They haven't, really showcase any playmakers on the outside. Do they have the guys to make plays? So I know it's late in the season, but I still feel like we're going to learn something about both of these teams in this matchup. Whether, Michigan is locked in and as good as advertised, because we've been talking about them as one of the three best teams, I feel like, all season long. With Ohio State maybe having the better resume, but on the field, Michigan looking like the best team in the conference. And then with Penn State, are they for real? They've always been right there in the hunt, but they haven't just been able to knock off the Ohio States and the Michigans yet. So this program really needs this win to feel like Penn State is Penn State again.
No, I definitely agree. This game is very interesting because of that. Like, I still want to see like a complete game under Drew Allard, just because I feel like we haven't gotten that in a game of this magnitude. So I think this is a big challenge for the Nittany Lions this week and for Drew Allard. Just because we want to see him really break out, really, take that stride, of course, that I feel like we're kind of being held back in seeing that he's kind of like holding back from us. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens this week, of course. So he might have a pretty good game. He might have one of the best games of the season. So yeah,
for sure. And it's at State College, you know what I'm saying? And it's at Penn State. It's going to be a State College. So that also adds to the drama. Penn State seats over 100,000 fans. Um, so that place will be rocking. That place will be packed. So we'll see just how wild that place gets, and can they impact this ball game?
Right.
If Michigan doesn't get out to a hot start, how how much will that crowd affect this ball game? We already saw this season. I feel like a game where, granted, both teams are really good and evenly matched, but I feel like the crowd won Washington that ball game against Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
That place was rocking. I feel like that place it had a great impact on that game. Can something similar happen here? Because I feel like we both agree that Michigan is the better team. If they weren't playing on a neutral site, I'm taking Michigan, no hesitation, even with everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact it is at Penn State makes that much more interesting this weekend.
Agreed. Agreed. It's just we want to see what happens. Of course, Michigan in this game being ranked at 44th in passing offense. Penn State right now, I think they are ranked at number 76 right now in passing offense right now. So, yeah, for like I said, for both of these quarterbacks, of course, I think it's going to rest on their shoulders. I mean,
that's how you see the game script going. Because we both know they want to run the football, and they will run it. But how effective will they be at running it?
exactly.
That is the question.
Exactly, because I think both of these defenses are going to be very stingy. So I think you're going to have to win this game through the air. Honestly, not saying that that both of these running backs, of course, for Michigan and Penn State.
The Don.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gus. The Don.
Absolutely. But yeah, not saying that Blake Corum, who I love in college football right now, he not saying that he's not going to have a good game. Not saying Katron Allen for Penn State isn't going to have a good game. It's just
or Donovan Edwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all, all of those guys have an opportunity to help their team out this weekend. But I do think this game, because both of these defenses seem to be a little stingy, of course, and with Penn State being at home, I don't see them just getting blown out. I do think this. I think this will be a dog fight to the end, and I think it's going to rest in the shoulders of one of these two quarterbacks. So yeah. Overall, I am going to pick Michigan to still win this football game. The question is, will it be them winning by 4.5? I think Vegas is kind of understanding that this is a hostile environment, and I think I'm going to lean towards Vegas with this. I think they'll win, but not by much. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Michigan wins. I think something that we all should be on the lookout for in this ball game is how Michigan uses their backs in the passing attack. So, like you said, we know the front seven for Penn State is a tough front seven. And D-line is very stingy when it comes to the running attack. But Michigan is known for getting their backs in space and using them in the passing game. So if they can, I expect that to carry over into this ball game, and for them to get those guys in space and allow them to simulate the rushing attack and just do so with the short passing game, and see if they can break a couple big plays with their backs. I think Michigan wins by 10. I think they cover. Um, I understand Penn State opened up the offense a little more, but Maryland isn't anybody. On a When it comes to a national note, they're a solid team, a good team in the Big Ten, but that didn't really show me anything. I feel like if they come out here and they throw it around the yard against Michigan, now we're talking. But I'm left feeling wanting to see more out of Penn State's passing attack. So I think Michigan is the better team. It might be a filling out process that first half, but I think Michigan eventually kind of breaks away and gets a couple stops that allows them to win a game that's tight up until the near end, and Michigan wins by 10.
Okay. Sounds fair. So I definitely agree with what you said, and I'm leaning towards Michigan winning, but winning in a close one. And I just saw in total defense. It's good that we mentioned it because in total defense, like Michigan's one right there, Penn State is number 2. So this is going to be a defensive battle. So it's just flat out.
It is. Which again, it relates back to like the coaches. Mm-hmm. We got to see what you scheme up.
Yeah,
when you're going up against a tough defense, like both teams will be facing, your coaches got to get in their bag, man, and draw up some plays to take advantage of maybe the minimal weaknesses that have been displayed by the two defenses. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see what these coaches are made of in this one.
Oh, absolutely. So let's hope this game lives up to the hype. I think it is from a defensive standpoint, and let's hope no signs are stolen in this game.
Facts.
Oh man, but yeah. Anything else you want to add to this game, Chris, before we move on?
No sir. We can keep it moving.
Yeah.
No scout gate going on over here.
Let's hope not. Oh man. So yeah. So now we are going to head to Eugene, Oregon, Chris, where the number 6 Oregon Ducks will host the USC Trojans.
Yes, sir.
Saturday. This was a game earlier in the season that me and you had both circled and saying that if everything fell in line with both of these teams potentially being undefeated and everything, and potentially both of these teams being in contention for the college football playoffs, that this was a game that you had to circle for this season in the Pac-12, and saying that this was going to be a big game that the country was going to watch. I think people are still going to check it out, of course, but it's not. This game doesn't bring the same magnitude that we had hoped. USC isn't ranked now. Right now, they're just really playing for pride, of course. Because they have 3 losses right now. They're 7-3. Oregon 8-1. So it's going to be still interesting to see Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams, of course, because anything can happen. Around this time this year, this is where upsets can happen. So I think we'll still get a entertaining game. But overall, I do think Oregon will be too much for USC in this football game. Right now, the line has Oregon 15.5, and the over/under is at 75.5. So this game might be a shootout. But overall, I think Bo Nix and company has this game nipped in the bud. So I like how he's playing this season, with well over 2,000 yards passing. He has 2,723 yards, 25 touchdowns with just 2 interceptions right now. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I think I'm picking Oregon in this game. What do you think about this game, Chris?
I think it's going to be a beatdown. I think Oregon is the real deal. I think they are honestly one of the 3 best teams in the country to my eyes. I know they have a loss, but this team is the complete package. They didn't have a down game against Cal. They beat the snot out of Cal. I think USC is reeling, and I think based off what we've seen surrounding this program, that I expect them to fall rather than rally.
Mm-hmm.
And I expect Oregon under Coach Lanning to be locked in, keyed in on their ultimate goal of making it to the Pac-12 championship game and trying to reach the playoff. I think they put on a show. I think they cover the spread, and this game is a blowout victory for the Ducks.
Wow,
they are a much better team than USC.
Hey, I mean, I'm just giving USC some shred of hope because they got Heisman Trophy.
Don't do it. Don't do
it. Out there.
Don't do it. Don't give them a shred of hope. They don't deserve hope. They let Dylan Johnson, who is a good back, but he ran for over 200 yards against them last week.
Look, he's shredded.
We saw Cal, who was up by 14 in the fourth quarter against USC. They somehow won that game because Cal self-imploded, but the point remains Cal was up 14. The Ducks are about to beat them, man. It's going to be like 60-14. I don't think it's going to be close.
Look, man, whoever's under the Duck uniform, hey, look, get ready for a lot of push-ups. Just get ready.
Yes.
You hear me, Duck?
Ice them biceps right now.
Exactly. Oh my God,
boy!
Because it's gonna be a long day.
Yes, it really is.
USC.
It's not gonna be anything nice. It really ain't. Oh man. But it should be a good day for Oregon fans. I mean, there is a puncher's chance that USC can win. I mean, just because you got to go out there and play the game, but like literally based off everything we've seen in this season, there's no way I feel like anyone could reasonably say USC is going to win this game and make that prediction.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this Oregon team, like just too much offense, just flat out, too much offense, too much defense, like. What's the timeline, Chris? Like, how long is it going to take until this offense just gets stressed out and just agitated because they can't move the football? Like, how long is it going to take for Caleb Williams to just get agitated?
It's not going to take long. It's not going to take long at all. It's it'll probably just the second drive. Like if they get back-to-back 3-and-outs, that's when you're going to see it. If you see back-to-back 3-and-outs to start the game, and Oregon has already put up a touchdown, you will see the frustration then and there. With like what 8 minutes, 7 minutes into the first quarter, like that halfway point of the first quarter, that's when you'll probably see that frustration.
Oh yeah. Hey, look, they better look. Caleb Williams, he better meditate. His whole team better be meditating. Because even Lincoln Riley, he better take some meditation lessons or whatnot. Because once you're knee deep in this game, I say by halftime, and you start looking at the scoreboard, and you just way behind. Like, hey, you might as well just breathe in, breathe out. Because there's nothing much else you can do. You can't just wave the white flag and just say like, "Oh, we quit." Like, no, Oregon they want to finish this game from the first quarter to the fourth quarter, and I just don't think you're enough to stop the behemoth that Oregon is. So, so I'm with
it's
you.
It's a train that's rolling for sure. And people betting. If you got FanDuel, place the prop bets on Bucky Irving touchdown, a Freeman receiving touchdown. You might even get a Bo Nix rushing touchdown. He's had rushing TDs in back-to-back games now. So place your bets on those guys to get touchdowns if you want to increase your parlay, the money on your parlay, because there will be points scored by Oregon at least.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you on that one. So yep. So this is gonna be a 9:30 p.m. kickoff game on Fox, depending on where you're at. So yeah, this is So yeah, we got Oregon in this game. I think both of us are right. I think that's just the law of the land when it comes to USC taking on this tougher talent right now. What we've seen the last couple of weeks. So yeah. But anything else you want to add to this game, Chris, before we move on?
Oh no, sir. Ain't nothing else to add to this upcoming beatdown.
Yes, sir. Well, from one beatdown to another potential beatdown, we have.
Yeah.
Hey, it can happen.
It can happen. It's tough to say, but it is possible. It is possible.
We'll
especially when you look at the history of these two programs. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we got number 2 Georgia, folks, hosting number 9 Ole Miss, of course. Ole Miss still riding high. Had that big win last week at home versus A&M. Lane Kiffin said, you're not going to beat me, Jimbo. Not in my home field. That's not going to happen. I got Georgia next week. You ain't going to ruin this for me, buddy.
All right.
Ole Miss got the W. So now they gotta go on the road to take on a Georgia
between the
team.
hedges.
Yeah, they gotta go between the hedges against a Georgia team at night that's starting to gain a little bit more confidence now. Of course, they don't have Brock Bowers, but they have players that are starting to emerge.
They got my boy Lab.
Yeah, Lab McConkey is starting to emerge, of course, and that's what you need. So yeah, he's starting to emerge. Love it. You still have Ra Thomas. You have plenty of talent.
I'm gonna say the backup tight end. I forgot my boy's name, but
Oscar Delp.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a highly recruited guy, and he's showing why.
Exactly. So they right now, folks. If you're a Georgia fan listening in on the show, you are just fine. Okay, everything is still in front of you, but you got Lane Kiffin, the Lane train, coming to town in Athens. Right now, the betting line is 10.5 Georgia, and the over and under is at 58.5. I think Georgia wins this game by a country mile. But I will say this: I think Ole Miss gives it a half of football where they get Georgia a little bit on their heels, I'd say. So I don't think they're going to come in this game and lay down necessarily. but I do
Mm-hmm.
think it's going to be a good first half of football between these two teams. But overall, I do think Georgia. I'll say Georgia will win by 14 points. I'll say.
Okay.
So yeah,
I
what do you think, Chris?
I think this is going to be a game. Weirdly enough, um, I mean, I have no disrespect to Ole Miss; they are ranked top 10 in the nation,
Mm-hmm.
but I think history kind of has shown that in the biggest games, Ole Miss has kind of let teams has let you down a little bit and hasn't taken that next step to win said big time games, except for back in the Hugh Freeze tenure, when they won the games against Alabama, but then they'll lose one that you just beat Alabama. Why are you losing to Arkansas? But
Or Memphis. Like, why are you losing to Memphis?
yeah, exactly.
Like, I know you live by
Um,
each other practically, but like, goodness gracious.
so I think um I think we saw with the Missouri game that Missouri was able to run the football solidly against Georgia, kept drives alive, and if it wasn't for some, that a bad, interception, that game was kind of destined to be tight all the way to the end. You know, there was not much room, not much room of separation between those two teams watching that ball game. It was a very good game. Missouri had some players stepping up. Georgia shut down, Luther Burden, but Missouri still had a chance in the ball game. Um, we know about Quinshon Judkins and the specimen he is at running back for Ole Miss. I think if Judkins is toting the football the way we anticipate him in a game like this, and that Ole Miss offense can stay on schedule, and we saw Jackson Dart, he's made a leap this season. We talked about it in the Alabama game. We want to see, can he take a leap? Can he show why he was one of the 10 best quarterbacks in his recruiting class coming out of high school, going to USC and then transferring to Ole Miss? He threw for over 300 yards against Texas A&M. That's what you want to see out of your quarterback in his second year as a starter against one of the top 10 talented rosters in the nation. Say what you want about Jimbo Fisher, but that team
The
is
team's loaded.
extremely talented. Their team is loaded.
Mm-hmm.
And we have not had any problems talking about the defense. A&M's had their woes offensively, but the defense has always been fine. So for Dart to do that against that A&M defense, that is very impressive. And I think he'll have his moments in this game. I think there is a chance Ole Miss wins this game for real. It sounds crazy to say, but I really think, as much as it's been easy for us to chalk it up like Georgia's fine, Florida, they'll be fine against Florida, and they were fine. All right, they'll be fine against Missouri. They'll be they beat Missouri. This is a test. This is the real deal test, and it'll be curious, interesting to me. I think this game, in a sense, comes down to Lane Kiffin.
Hey, doesn't it always come down to Lane Kiffin when it comes to
I
these big games?
it does, but I think even more so in this one, in the sense of how emotional are you in this game? How much do you push it and say we're going for it on 4th and 2? Well, you might should just take the points, or you should just punt it and force Georgia to go 85, 90 yards downfield to get a score. How does he balance that? Because there are going to be times where you probably should go for it. There also is going to be a time where your defense isn't bad. Georgia's offense isn't the most dominant offense. Maybe you should take this 3 points and trust your team and see if you guys can be in it in the fourth quarter, and then maybe be more aggressive as the game continues. So that's why we'll be looking out for. How I think Lane Kiffin is the X factor in this game, because I think Ole Miss, they have the pieces. I mean, I think Dart has emerged. Judkins is here. They have talent at the receiver pool. The defense looks improved with the new defensive coordinator and makes timely stops. The makings of an upset. And for this program to get one of the biggest wins in program history, they are there to happen. Can they and will they make it happen? We have to see. But I'll say this, I think they will be in position to pull off the upset.
Fair enough. Ole Miss has a talented team at the end of the day. Like, folks say, hey, if you haven't seen this team go, like, when they are moving the football, they are moving the football. Jackson Dart is one of the better passers in the country. In terms of this sport, so I'm not going to say that they are 100%. It's 100% sure thing that they'll lose, because, as always, college football in November, anything can happen. But we've been waiting for Georgia to meet someone that is almost as talented as they are, and a team that's not going to back down. We've kind of speculated, like, will we see that once they get to the SEC championship game against potentially Bama now? We'll see. But for this Ole Miss team, like, I mean, everything is still in front of them. So if they were to go down to Athens and win that football game, my God.
Oh, my goodness.
That would be
I need to make my way to Oxford if that happens, boy. The square gonna be crazy.
Exactly. I'm telling you. They're gonna have to hand me one of those hottie toddies. I don't even drink. I just wanna hold it up just to say, hey, I'm with y'all.
I'm making my way to the library, baby. It's gonna be turned up in Oxford.
Oh man, but yeah, in all seriousness though, it will be a monster win for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss if they were to leave.
I think they haven't won in Athens since 1996 under Coach Cutcliffe. I believe that's the. I think it was 96 was the last time they won there.
Yeah, that does sound right. That time frame does sound about right. So
it's been some time.
Yeah, it's been some time. So I know a lot of Ole Miss fans. They're saying, look, we're due for a W at this point.
They are, and the good thing for this program is they're at least winning the games that they should win. And that's step number one in making that next. That's the first thing you got to do if you want to make that step of being like a for real perennial program. Win the games you're supposed to win, and then maybe you put yourself in position to pull off the win that you need and make it matter. Like it doesn't matter if you upset Alabama or Georgia if you didn't beat the A&Ms and the LSU and the Arkansas. It's like those games where you coming into it as the better team and you're the team at home, and you should get that dub. Well, now since you've been getting those wins by default, you're a top 10 team in the country, and now this is your opportunity to maybe even make that jump. If you win this game, you put yourself in the conversation of being a top 16. You're right there with the Washington, with Oregon and Texas.
Yeah, that's good competition right there.
Right there with Alabama. Just all those 1-loss teams that are yearning to claw their way into the playoff, you make things that much more messier.
Agreed. Agrees. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting football game, of course.
It will. I'll say my pick. I'll take Georgia, but I think Ole Miss covers. Okay. I think surprisingly, I think Georgia wins by 3. I think this is. I don't want to say it as a Mississippi State alum, but I think this is going to be a battle. I really do. I think Ole Miss comes ready for this one. They show up ready for this one.
I think so too.
So yeah,
I think so too. So yeah, this is gonna be an interesting game. 6 p.m. kickoff game on ESPN. So this is gonna be a fun one. So as what Lane Kiffin has said in the past, get your popcorn ready.
Yeah, he ain't gonna say that this time though. He ain't gonna say that this time. I think he's learned his lesson from that too. He'll let you say get your popcorn ready. I don't think he's gonna be saying popcorn ready this time around.
He's like, don't give me that popcorn. I don't want to see popcorn.
Yeah. Nah, I don't think you. The last thing he's trying to eat some popcorn. Hey, give him some fruit snacks or something. Don't give him no popcorn.
Oh man, but yeah. Anything else you want to add to this game, Chris, before we move on?
No, sir.
All right. So yep, can't wait for Ole Miss and Georgia going between the hedges. So should be a great game. All right. So next game that we have, Chris, we got the Missouri Tigers, the number 14 Missouri Tigers taking on number 13 Tennessee. This game is going to be a 2:30 p.m. kickoff game on CBS. So yeah, this is going to be a great clash in the SEC East division. So pretty much both of these teams are trying to jockey for that position at number 2 right now. So in the division, I'll say. So I'm very interested into seeing what happens in this game. Right now, Vegas, they have Tennessee as a 2-point favorite in this game. Over under is at 57.5. So they don't even have Missouri winning this football game, which kind of has me wondering, what does Vegas know about Tennessee that we don't know right now, Chris?
That's a good question.
I know, right? I know. Like, what do they know? Like, we know last week Missouri had that heartbreaking loss against Georgia, which was a great game. But maybe they're looking at Missouri still thinking about that loss last week and might catch up to them this week. To me, I don't think that's the case. I'm picking Missouri just because of the home field advantage. I think everything is in front of Missouri to have a really good season. And I just look at Missouri as a really good team. It's kind of hard to beat Missouri in Columbia. So not really sure what Vegas is seeing, but I'm liking Brady Cook more than I'm liking Joe Milton and his squad to come out and have a good showing in this game. So what do you think, Chris?
I think if Tennessee gets this win, it's their defensive line was just dominant. I think that's what Vegas is leaning on being the case. I don't think it's Joe Milton will be better than Cook situation. Tennessee has one of the 10 best defensive lines in the country. I would argue even top 5. Right there with Texas, right there with Michigan and Penn State. Tennessee's defensive line is just filthy. they get after it. They've put together, and A&M might be a more talented line. They're one of the top talented defensive lines in the nation as well. But just production standpoint, on what we're seeing on the field, them boys at Tennessee, they cut up.
They do.
And so I
really
think that group, that position group, if Tennessee wins this game, because I'm just looking at the picture, just trying to paint the picture for, how both teams win this game. If Tennessee wins this game, it's truly because that D-line got, 5 or more sacks. And now we're talking about those drives from Missouri, being halted. No longer in third and manageable. If you're getting sacks like that on a consistent basis, and possibly too really disrupting the rushing attack that was very effective last week. So they would win an ugly game. I think if it's high scoring and, Missouri's offense is functioning well, that bodes well for Missouri. But if it's one of them, if it's a Jefferson Pilot special, I think that favors Tennessee. So if you think this game hits the under on the scoring, I think you double down and pick Tennessee to win. I think if you're someone who thinks this game should be more high scoring and you pick the over, I think you also double down and pick Missouri to win this game. I think this is tough. These teams are very evenly matched. This is tough for me. I've been going back and forth all week on who I think wins this game. My head says Missouri. I have just a feeling that Tennessee wins. I can't.
I mean, now that you mentioned it, that defense has been keeping Tennessee close in games.
That's how they win.
Yeah, that they won. Majority of the games that they have won has been because of that defense, but also the games that they have lost, they haven't lost by much. So you credit that a lot to their defense. That defense is very good. So I can see if that's what Vegas is basing this off on. It is because of their defense. And how can Missouri, a team that I think has pretty good defense too, like they do,
for sure,
can they find ways to win the football game?
Eli, baby, he's earning that check this week. he earned it last week, and he's gonna earn it again this weekend. I think I go Tennessee by a point. I mean, I don't like saying it. It didn't feel good saying. Man, I'm picking Tennessee, but I'm rooting for Missouri. I'll say that. I'm picking Tennessee, but I'm rooting for Missouri. I don't think it's by much. I think it's an ugly game. I think it's a tough one.
I think
both teams could win a tough one.
Tough game.
Both teams very capable of winning it if it's a close, low scoring game.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say Missouri by 7.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think someone like Schrader, like Cody Schrader, can potentially help them get in the end zone.
He's a hard runner.
Yeah. I think
he's a hard runner.
I think you get a little extra push from that offensive line for Missouri because, like you said, he is a very hard runner, and I like watching him play as well. So I do think those guys are also going to have to step up as well, and I think he will.
I got you. I'll be rooting for I'll be rooting for Mizzou to get the win. But just have a feeling. I just have a feeling. Because it's going to be interesting, too, to see how they respond after a tough loss like that. You know, with the expectations of being they're still a highly ranked team despite that loss. So
Right.
how does this team answer back after a game like that where you were right there in it with Georgia? Can you summon that type of focus and energy back-to-back weeks to get a hard-fought victory against an extremely tough Tennessee defense? This team is the complete opposite of what we saw last year from Tennessee. Boy, if you had last year's offense mixed with this year's defense, you're looking at a team that's in the playoff.
Oh man, just put them number one. Just do it. just put them number one right now. Like that team was.
Woo. So yeah,
what more can you say? What more?
So yeah, I'll go Tennessee. Let's say 20. I'll say 21-20. I think it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be a rough one.
21-20. Whew.
Yeah, I'm not betting this game. Yeah, it's gonna be it's a Jefferson Pilot special, baby.
Look, just stay far away from a game like that. you watch it for fun. You don't watch it for bets.
Yes. This will be the last game I bet on. Yes.
Oh man, but yeah, I can't wait to watch this game. I think it's going to be a fun one. It's probably it's gonna bring out that same competitiveness as the Michigan Penn State game this weekend as well. So yeah, you got Tennessee, I got Missouri. I got Missouri by 7. You got Tennessee by 1. So difference of outcomes, but I think overall, the way it happens on both ends of the spectrum turns out to be a very tough physical matchup, I'd say so. So we'll see.
For sure.
We'll see. So anything else you want to add to this game, Chris, before we move on to our last game?
No, sir.
All right. So now we will talk about number 5, Washington Huskies hosting number 18, Utah this weekend. Another 2:30 p.m. game. This one on Fox, of course. So, this is going to be an interesting matchup as well. This was another game that I know I had thought about. Like, hey, what would be what would it be like to see both of these teams potentially, being undefeated, of course, maybe later in the season, and taking on each other. This game could also, and it still does actually have very big playoff implications to play with this game on the Washington side. So right now Vegas has Washington as a 9.5 point favorite. The over under is at 49.5, Chris. So what do you think about this game? Because for me, and we've talked about it for the last couple of weeks on this show, Washington is like, they're up, they're down, they're all around. We don't really know what Washington is even late in the season. All we know is that they're 9-0 right now.
Like they're winning. Yeah,
they've just been winning. But can they keep this up? Of course. I'm leaning towards yes. Like, they're at home, so they shouldn't have any reason to lose this football game. But we've seen weirder things happen in college football. So, what do you think about this game overall?
it's a really interesting matchup. Um, because as well as Washington ran football and was the balanced offensive attack last weekend against USC, the caveat is that was against USC. um, they play defense at Utah.
They play a lot of it.
They play a lot of it. They pride themselves on defense. So that makes for a really interesting ball game, I think, because I still kind of view Washington as a team that's pass heavy. I really don't trust the running game yet. I need to see that again. If they can run the football very well against Utah, okay, now we're really on to something. But I think Utah is going to try to force them to have to run the football, force them to slow this game down, force the ball out of Michael Penix's hands. And if that's the case, if it's a more slow down game, I think this game doesn't hit the over-under. I mean, it doesn't hit the over. I think it'll be a lower scoring game. And that plays into Utah having a legitimate chance of winning. Washington's defense has its cracks. I don't think Washington's defense is as good as some of the other top teams in the nation.
Not as good as Oregon.
It's not as good as Texas is, I believe.
Yeah.
Alabama's, Ohio State's, Michigan, possibly Penn State for that matter. I think this game, it has a smell of possible upset. It smells like an upset brewing. Utah has had its struggles offensively throughout this season, but Utah still has been able to find ways to win, and they've looked better. They put up 55 points on Arizona State. Now, granted, it is Arizona State, but Washington ain't put up no points on Stanford's defense. So I think Utah, I would say if you're betting on this game, to bet on Utah to be right there, to bet on Utah with the points. But I think there is a chance that Utah really wins this game. Excuse me. I'm going with Utah. I mentioned that I think there's chaos this weekend. Again, they don't have the best offense, but I think there's the makings for an upset are there in this ball game, and I think Utah wins a close one.
Whew. I'm trying to picture that in my head at a Utah upset. I mean, if that happens, look, I won't be too surprised because it's just another day in the office for Coach Whittingham. Like that's just what they do over there in Utah. They crush people's dreams. So, I mean, it's possible. For me, I just, you're Washington, you're at home. The game that you had last week was just, I can't even call it jarring. Maybe for USC, but for Washington, guys stepped up. Guys like Dylan Johnson stepped up in that football game. I just don't see them just laying back and just enjoying the ride so soon. Well,
yeah,
at this point in time of the season.
Right. I can see that, like them taking this season by the horns and finishing this thing.
Right.
I can see that.
because I think they got over that hurdle as like one of those last hurdles known as USC, and now they literally see we're getting close. We got to finish out this season, and it starts with Utah this week. I do think Utah will put up a fight, but I think Washington expects that, and it's good for them to be at home to expect that. If this game was at Utah, I'm just gonna say it. That might they're probably on upset alert, legitimately. But because this game is at Washington, I'm leaning toward Washington winning this football game.
I understand that. I definitely do. I think Utah they have that game in them. And I think this is where it comes out. I think they figured out some things offensively. And I don't expect them to just put up points, but I think they muck this game up enough to where they can they pull off the upset. I think they do. There's a lot of games across the country this weekend where that could potentially happen. And maybe I'm wrong. But if I'm putting my money on one happening, it's between this game and also Georgia and Ole Miss. I feel a little more confident based on how these teams have played throughout the season. I still have my trepidations about the Huskies. And I wouldn't be shocked if they won this game at all. They're number 5 team in the nation. Top 5 team. But I think just how the pieces line up in this ball game, and I think what Utah will plan on doing defensively, I think they'll be right there, and they might be able to finish off what Stanford couldn't.
Okay. I mean, that's a fair assessment of it. I can understand both scenarios actually happening, honestly. It's just my gut is telling me, man, Washington's at home, riding high, 9-0. Everything's in front of them. Season's almost over. Don't mess this up. And typically, sometimes when that much pressure is on you, you do mess things up. But
it messes yeah. Yeah.
But that's what
these are kids too.
Yeah.
These are kids to an extent. You know what I'm saying? These are 19, 20, 21-year-old athletes.
Agreed. And that's what makes me do kind of lean into what your analysis of this game will actually be as well. So yeah, I guess it's a safe bet to call this game a proper toss-up kind of game.
It is, and there also is the world where just Washington truly has figured it out, and they're just too much offensively for Utah, and it's a similar ball game to the Oregon game we saw this year.
Yeah,
there is that possibility. I just feel like Oregon's offense is just a more complete, balanced offense, and so that gives me a little bit of hesitation to that outcome happening. And I think Utah, I think they're kind of rubbing their hands. Like, they really know. I think they're going to try to strap up on the outside. And, like, Michael Penix and your receivers, y'all aren't beating us this game. Y'all will have to run 10, 11, 12 play drives running the football against our front seven and earn this win on the ground and run for 200 yards. And if you do so, you tip your hat. But also, if you do so, your chances are, I think this is a closer game than what people anticipate.
Yeah. Could be a lower scoring game. So
I really think it will. If I was to bet an under on a ball game, this is another one I would choose too.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. So, yeah, it's, like I really can't wait for this game, just to see what happens because I love both of these teams, just with what they bring on both ends of the football. Of course, Utah with that stingy defense, Washington with when they're clicking. Their offense is just as good as anyone else's in the country. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting football game, but I can't wait to watch this game this weekend. So yeah.
For sure.
Well, partner, anything else you want to add to this game before we get to your bets for the weekend?
No, sir. Nothing else to add on this ball game. We can move on to the bets.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have Chris Bolton here giving you another edition of Bolton's Bets. So, what do you got for us today on the slate, Chris? Well, what are some games we should be looking after this weekend?
Yes, sir. So, the first one that I have for us, it might surprise you a little bit. But it might not. I'm rocking with Oregon again. They have been dismantling teams, and I know it's 15.5 points, but I expect it to get ugly. I expect Oregon to cover handedly. So I say rock with Oregon. I don't care about the 15.5 point spread. I think they cover. I think this game is going to be like, I said 60-14 earlier. It's something to that extent, like 50. It could be like 45-14, 52-17. I think USC is kind of collapsing, and Oregon is locked in on reaching the playoffs. So that's my first one.
Nice.
Then I have another one for you. We keeping it in the Pac-12.
Okay.
Going out to Corvallis.
Ooh.
To Stanford and Oregon State. Oregon State, 20.5 point favorites. I say you rock with the Cardinals. I say you rock with Stanford.
Really?
I say you take the points in that ball game. I don't think Oregon State covers.
Okay.
I think Stanford is a tough team that has a chance to make this a ball game.
Mm-hmm.
And Oregon State should win, but it won't be the sexiest win. It'll be like a 10 point win. Mm-hmm. And that's all that that's all that we want. We just don't want Stanford to get blown out. They have proven themselves to be able to make plays on the outside. We saw Arizona was able to make plays on the outside against this Oregon State team. We saw Stanford make plays on the outside against Washington. I feel confident that they'll be able to get some big-time plays, some chunk plays. And even though this game is on the road, I don't think it'll be too much for the Cardinals. I think they'll make it a ball game. They aren't as bad as their record says they are. So I feel like Stanford should win that. Should be right there in the ball game, and Oregon State will pull away.
Nice. Yeah, like we had said earlier, I think ever since that Colorado game with Stanford, they really boosted up their confidence. Of course, figuring some things out, figuring who were some of their top playmakers. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. So that should be interesting.
It should be interesting, and is my third bet. I feel good about it. It might sound a little crazy to you all. It's Miami and Florida State. Florida State They are 14-point favorites. I ain't saying Florida State doesn't win this game. I just don't think they win by 14 points or more than 14 points. I know Miami they have had their struggles. They just are coming off a loss against NC State. And they've had a couple of ugly wins. It's still a rivalry. Miami still has a good and talented team. I think they show up for this game. I think they put it together, quote unquote. And this game is much tighter than what the spread would lead you to believe it would be. Florida State wins, but it's going to be more like 35, 31, 34, 30. It'll be something like that. So again, I'm not picking Miami to win this game. I just don't think Florida State covers the 14 points.
That's interesting, of course. Florida State playing at home.
Florida State's at home. Florida State is clicking. But I think TVD, Miami's quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, he's experienced. And I think this team, I don't think they're falling apart. They've had a couple of tough losses, but especially the Georgia Tech one, but they bounced back after the Georgia Tech loss, after the North Carolina loss. They bounced back from those games and got some gritty wins. Yes, they lost to NC State, but I just think this team, the way they played all year, has shown that they don't just quit, because they could have easily just quit after the Georgia Tech game and after losing to North Carolina.
Yeah,
I think this game ends up being much closer because, again, it's a rivalry game. And we know how, even if you're having a terrible season, teams get up for the rivalry game.
Always.
This team will be fired up. This team will be fired up for this one. And I think it'll bring out their best.
I was just looking at Miami's record, of course, and they're 6-3 right now. They had that big win against Clemson. They defeated Virginia. Both close games. They lost to NC State on last week. So,
and that's another thing too, that I think that, gives you the chance as a coach to bring your team in. You make this past week's probably been hell week for those guys. You can't come in feeling too good, smelling yourself after a loss. So,
right.
I think practice has been very focused, and I think that leads toward Miami playing a better game than anticipated. And the way Florida State, they've been clicking as well. No knock to Florida State. They can very well, they might blow up my bet and cover the spread. That's not out the range of possibilities. But I also think too, there's a chance that they come in feeling a little too good about themselves because they haven't seen the talent level that Miami possesses against the teams they've been smacking lately.
Correct. This is going to be a different level of toughness. When they played LSU in the beginning of the season, LSU's a good team, but I'd say Miami.
They've proven themselves to not be that good.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could say Miami's a much tougher team than LSU. The offense of LSU is good, but
both 3-loss
take
teams,
this
and
Hurricane.
both teams with 3 losses, and if Miami just kneels the ball, they're a 2-loss team. So who's to say this Miami team isn't going to put up a tougher fight than LSU, we have seen that defense is not it.
Right.
Miami's defense is better.
Yeah. I agree with you on that one. So yeah. So we will see. We will see. Interested to see how that game does fare as well. Just because Florida State, I mean, they're riding high right now too. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because that is a big game, of course, and Miami is a test for them that I don't think they quite yet had.
And Mario, he would love to get that signature rivalry win in year 1 as the head coach of Miami, and that would erase the Georgia Tech game. That game will be gone out of people's memory if he can foil Florida State's just amazing season. A season that looks like they're primed to go to the college football playoff. If he can spoil that, then he won't have to pay for another meal for a minute out there in Miami.
Nah. They'll pay it full. keep the change too.
Right.
Oh man, but yeah, man. Those are some good games, of course, that you presented to us, Chris. So another successful week of Bolton's bets.
Yes, we're doing well right now. We're 5-1 in Bolton's bets, so we're trying to keep it up. Gonna try to keep it up.
All right. Yeah, we doing good. We riding high.
We are riding high. Riding high.
We hope that we're making you guys some money. Of course, putting some money in your pockets.
And that's what we want to do. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, we got Thanksgiving coming up. We got Christmas coming up. When you come on Bolton's bets, we don't lie to you.
We keep it a band.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. So it's great to listen to another edition of Bolton's bets. So yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, Chris, another successful prediction Friday in the books. We got a lot of great games coming up this Saturday. I'm going to be watching them. I know you're going to be busy doing some things, but
I'll be listening. I might not be able to watch, but I'm going to take it back to the 1950s and have that radio playing. I'll hear them.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, we will definitely be back on Monday to discuss the week that was week 11 in college football. But before we leave, Chris, go ahead and tell the good folks where they can find you on social media.
Yes, sir. You can find me on X at Chris_Bolton_12. You can also find me on Instagram at Chris.Bolton_. Get at your boy.
Awesome. And for me, you can find me on X at Listen to KSW, all one handle. I'm on there talking college football, any college sports, video games, professional wrestling, all of that good stuff. So be sure to follow me on there. But yeah, guys, we appreciate you all listening in on the show, of course. Like I said earlier, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the show. It lets us know what we're doing and how we can improve moving forward. So we love all of you guys' support, as always, when you tune in to the show. But yeah, y'all take care, and y'all will hear back from us on Monday to recap everything in week 11 of the college football season. But yeah, guys, until next time, have a great weekend and see y'all next week.
Peace.
Peace.